My rules, big moves. Y'all heavy on the tweeting. I'll disappear a whole season like, who said they looking for me? I'ma make you wait for it. Count down for me. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey girl, welcome back to the Sister Circle. It's been a hell of a week and I need to sit with my girls. I'm still Dr. Ajax and I'm excited that you've committed to Hold My Heels, the Power of Unapologetic Living podcast. Do me a favor, follow and push that little bell to get notified when new episodes drop. We 6 episodes into this crazy project of mine and it absolutely blows my mind that y'all come along with me every week. I love that for me and for you. If you ever want to talk about something in particular, you can slide in my DMs on the gram at hold.myheels. Who would have thought that this week Kendrick would slap the proverbial taste out of Drake's mouth and Sexy Red would shake her tail feather for the countrymen? But we're going to get into both of those next week on episode 7 about the Jezebel stereotype. So don't go too far. If somebody DMs me, I might release it early. Now, today's episode will delve into the stereotype threat of the Mammy. This is part 4 of the now 5-part series on stereotype threat that impacts Black women in the workplace and in the world. We have already discussed the superwoman phenomenon, the angry Black woman, and the sapphire stereotypes. We will end the series with discussion of the Jezebel. While all the stereotypes hinder Black women's ability in the workplace, I think this one hinders the ability of the earner of this stereotype from progressing literally due to being seen as good for morale but not good for business. People who are stuck in this characterization are usually placed in low mobility positions and aren't seen as leaders outside of their ability to soothe others. Kimberly Wallace Sanders put it eloquently. Mammy is part of the lexicon of antebellum mythology that continues to have a provocative and tenacious hold on the American psyche. Her large, dark body and her round, smiling face tower over our imaginations, causing more accurate representations of African American women to wither in her shadow. The Mammy's stereotypical attributes, her deep, sonorous, and effortlessly soothing voice, her infinite patience, her precocious laugh, her self-deprecating wit, her implicit understanding and acceptance of her inferiority, and her devotion to whites all point to a long-lasting and troubled marriage of racial and gender essentialism, mythology, and Southern nostalgia. I absolutely love Black scholars. Ever since I began doing the research for my dissertation and going to the Virginia State University, where I was allowed to fully grasp that academia does not always support and love on Black scholars and especially Black women scholars, it is something about a Black woman scholar that lights a fire under me. So I'm always cite a sister because the academy likes to act like we are not in this thing making it do what it do. So shout out to all the new Black women, them, and men who dropped as EDDs and PhDs these last couple of weeks. We see you and we're here for you. Regardless of what anybody may say about you or try to typecast you as, it don't matter. It don't even matter because you are all the things and can't nobody take not one of them letters in the front or back of your name. You're exactly what your ancestors prayed for and paved the way for. So sit in your power and keep doing big things. Now, let's get into this week's topic. Bell Hooks talks about how the mammification of Black enslaved women began during the transatlantic slave trade as enslaved African women were broken to be prepared to work in the homes of white enslavers. So basically these men wrote in their journals how they demoralized and broke these women so that they could be terrorized enough to work in the house and obey not only the slave master, but his wife and his children. They wanted the enslaved African woman to fear them so much that there would be no way that they would rebel against the family or harm them. And it really makes you think that if you're afraid that I would poison you or kill you in your sleep, maybe you shouldn't do what you're doing. But, that's neither here nor there because lots of people still didn't understand. Now, they really tried to play in Black women's faces really bad because if you have any familiarity with the Mammy stereotype, you are probably knowledgeable about one or both of the 2 most popular Mammy images, which are Pearl from Gone with the Wind and the image of Aunt Jemima on the syrup bottle. So if you aren't familiar with the totality of the Mammy stereotype, it is basically characterized as a motherly, loyal, nurturing, self-deprecating, and self-sacrificing servant History has typically portrayed these women as caretakers of white children and white women in the home, to allow white women to continue to be seen as weaker or more feminine and needing support. And then they've, in contrast, been really harsh and unloving to their own children and families. Although in the workplace, the mammy can be seen as someone who takes care of everyone, and especially utilized when someone wants a minority problem to go away or be heard. So Reynolds, Dobbs, Thompson, and Harrison described in their research project that modern day work mammies are seen as an advocate for other blacks in the organization, and is seen as a senior ranking or older black woman who is competent in her work, but her emotional and nurturing qualities overshadow her professional strengths, and is looked at as a support system in the workplace. So really the emergence of the mammy as a cook became synonymous after the Civil War, which is how you got the Aunt Jemima stereotype on the bottle of syrup, is because the South wanted to portray the good old days or the best parts of the South for a white Northern audience. And the white Northern audience wanted to be able to enjoy some of the perks of slavery without seeming like they were racist. Shame on you. So this secondary image of the Aunt Jemima wasn't as harsh as their original mammy, and typically was portrayed as somebody who was real simple-minded. She was a helper. She was more aligned to the respectability of niceness, and we know what niceness is about. It's about making other people feel better, superficially. It's not because you actually want them to feel better, or you want to be nice to them, or you want to support them. It's because you are doing it because you want to get something out of it. And basically, this servant wanted to not get beaten or harassed or harmed or hurt. So they were nice to this family. Now, I didn't know this, and I'm going to tell you because maybe you didn't know it either. The Mammy characterization was ultimately used as the flip side of Sapphire at some point. Reading the research, I was blown away. So basically, the Mammy behavior was reserved for the white family, and the black woman, and how she responded to her family was the flip side of that. It was a way for people, white people, to basically say, another way to convey that black men as weak, because the mammy was the matriarch in her own family. And in white families, the patriarch was the head of the family. Now, I'm going to pause real quick because I want you to understand that lots of scholars say that, black men suffered the most from slavery and Jim Crow because it was about them losing their foothold on patriarchy in their families, and that, they were basically being demoralized into women, into women's spaces. But one thing about patriarchy and one thing about the system is, if you think about what that is saying, it's okay, so black men are still men because they have all the masculinity features of a man. They're strong, they're brute, they're whatever, but we don't want them to think that they're above white women, but they're above black women. So it's still in a lot of ways patriarchy, which we talked about last week. And I want you to understand that in no way am I saying that black men being brutalized or demoralized by white slave owners was just about patriarchy in the black family. It was really about control. And they controlled both parties. They controlled men and women the same. They just did it differently so that it would be a way to exert their power over them. So please don't get it twisted and think that I'm saying that all of the L's in the world is because black men can't tell black women what to do, because I would never. Because who are you talking to right now is always the first thing on my mind when a man of any sort tries to, exert his power over me, because we're not doing that today or tomorrow. Now, back to the research. So if you don't believe me and you feel like you need some research to support it, I would suggest watching the documentary Ethnic Notions. My mind has been blown doing this research about the amount of things that we just are not taught in school. And going to an HBCU really opened up me being able to understand my blackness and where my people came from and how it impacts me now, and not being afraid to talk about it, not feeling like I'm out of place or feeling like it shouldn't be something that is brought up. So I would suggest you watch that that documentary. Because remember, most of the system is built on keeping Black community at odds. Like that's why on the slave ships, they separated people who spoke the same tongue, because they did not want an uprising. They did not want people to be able to come together and join hands and be like, we are not dealing with this crap. And it worked for a lot of time. And what we know about PTSD and trauma is that it is consistently passed down from generation to generation. And a lot of the things that we endured during slavery has been embedded in our DNA. And so it is really hard to break some of those things. But as we all become more knowledgeable about who we are and where we come from, we get a little bit more emboldened to push back against the world and what they say that we should do or how we should act. Now, one of the things that I found like the funniest about the Mammy character was that, she's always portrayed as this like large, dark-skinned Black woman, the colorism, you see it. But most times, the typical Mammy was a younger woman because she needed to be able to produce milk as a wet nurse. And 9 times out of 10, it was a mulatto because it was easier on the eyes of everybody else if it was a light-skinned or white passing Black woman in the house instead of a darker skinned woman. But what you see in popular culture is this stereotype where it's this woman that they portray as unattractive, basically because as white women began to try to fight against the patriarchy and sexism of, their husbands mistreating them, they did not want somebody in the house that would be competition to them. So they portrayed the Mammy as this unattractive figure because remember, in Western culture, it was about being small and petite and, the idea of what a woman looks like. So if you have the antithesis of that, you've got this Mammy caricature. I'm going to say that word one day. I promise you I am. I had to redo the entire last episode because I couldn't say the word and I've been practicing. It's the country in me. So y'all just, I'm glad y'all be rocking with me because I be getting so deep in these podcasts that I can't start over. Okay. So that's the real tea. Okay. All right. Now I just need y'all to see how patriarchy is all about sexism. It is all about holding the woman down. And until as women, we understand that if they hold down one of us, they can hold down all of us. And we can't pick and choose what we support and what we don't support. But what I will tell you is you can't push your agenda on everybody else. What I want is not what you want. What you want may not be what I want. And that's what feminism is about. And we have to understand that, we all weave in and out of patriarchy so much that we forget how we are playing into that system. So as you think about the Mammy stereotype and you think about the women in your life who you have seen play out this stereotype in the workplace or in places where there is a hierarchy, I want you to think about what those women looked like. I want you to think about how those women were talked about. I want you to think about how those women were not protected and ultimately treated. So this week, the lived experience is anonymous. I want to protect the dignity of this woman who came forward to talk about her place in the workforce. And because I wasn't going to have this woman on the show, I did ask a few questions and I've surmised it into a conversation that is in first person. So you are going to hear me read word for word, bars for bars. And I'm going to read it like a story. This is not my story. I never stayed nowhere for 22 years because, baby, these jobs ain't loyal. Like, I ain't going to stay with a man for 22 years, so I definitely not going to stay with a job for that long. Now, if you're interested in this type of storytelling research, I will point you to the book, Recovering Black Storytelling and Qualitative Research in Darkened Storywork by S.R. Tolliver. So here we are in this week's lived experience. I've been working at my job for about 22 years now. I came to this job from a government job with about 10 years of experience as a financial analyst and administrative assistant. When I got to this place, I became an executive assistant for a high-level position. There were very few Black executive assistants in this space, and I had to consistently prove myself. There was also not a lot of Black people in the building in leadership or professional positions. So we all checked on each other and supported one another. I noticed that younger or less experienced Blacks gravitated to me for support, and I became a bit of a mother hen to them. They were my babies, and I enjoyed helping them navigate the space. I started to realize that while I was a beacon of support and hope for those around me, I was also being sent to fix problems when people thought that one of these Black babies, and I called them babies as a term of endearment, had stepped out of place in someone's eyes. I also noticed that I wasn't being looked at for promotions when higher executive assistant positions came open for more visible members of our organization. And I ultimately noticed when I would stand in my power and authority that I needed to exhibit in my work, people called me mean or bossy. But they depended on my strong personality when they needed something done. What made it worse was that I noticed that as I was being passed over by women who were lighter complected or other ethnicities that had less experience and knowledge of me, I was then being asked to train them. I felt like the entire world was going crazy around me and that I was only good enough to support a cast member but never ever be the star of the series. Then one day a Black man became my boss who was confident and supportive. He helped elevate me into spaces that I had been shut out of and started telling me I wasn't to help everyone around me. That if other departments needed support, they either needed to hire good people or train the ones they had. He consistently talked to me about how I wasn't anyone's workhorse and that I deserved the same respect as other people and didn't have to baby everyone. He literally told me to pull my teat out of everyone's mouth and let them fail or fly. It was liberating, and I finally realized that I had truly been the help for so long. But it also hurt because why now after so many years was someone finally seeing value in me and my ability? I still very much take care of my babies, but they are the people that I am drawn to and not the people who wanted me to be their wet nurse. I finally feel free and useful in this space. If I could tell my younger self anything, it would be that I am not here to carry the weight of those around me or to play the part of someone's mammy. So I want to thank her very much for sharing her story with me and allowing me to tell it with care and love. As I listened to this woman speak, it hurt me to the core. Hearing her story and seeing the world through her eyes definitely made me think about the women that I have gravitated to in the workplace when I needed a soft place to land. I think of a woman who allowed me to lay my head in her lap literally and cry until I couldn't cry anymore after some stuff happened at work and I just felt like I didn't have anywhere else to go. And this older Black woman allowed me to come in and allowed me to be vulnerable with her in a space. And when I got done crying, she looked at me and she said, "Don't never give these people that much of you again." And I have kept that with me throughout all of my jobs and throughout my career and in a lot of spaces, because it helped me understand that a sister circle is important, because if you don't have it, you're not able to release and navigate as well as you should, because there is nothing like another Black woman you can look at in a moment and you can see in her eyes that she gets it and she understands you and that you are not absolutely crazy. So I love this woman because she has welcomed me with her arms open, but she has also held me accountable for all of my crap. And while I don't see her as a mammy, I can definitely see how she may feel that our relationship in some ways lends to that. But I see her as an older sister who guides and leads me. But I also want her to show me her full humanity. And so I talk to her about stuff that has nothing to do with taking care of me. I want to make sure that she understands that I want to hear about her life too. And I want to be able to be there to be a support system for her. We all need these women in our corner, but it is up for us to make sure that we are not using them for emotional and physical work, and we're allowing them to hold the same space with us. So I will say this to every godmama out there, we see you and we love you. The next time that somebody tries to place you in the position of mammy, look them dead in the face. And this is what I want you to say to them. So I want you to get ready because you're going to repeat after me. So I'm going to say it, then you're going to hear it, right? And so then I'm going to say it again. And when I say it again, you're going to say it with me. I know you're in the car. I know you're in the shower. I know you're getting ready, but you're going to say it with me because I need you to put your whole soul into it. Okay. So I'm going to say it first and then we're going to say it together. And then you're going to say it when somebody is in your face. Okay. So what I want you to say is, I don't know nothing about birthing no baby. I don't care what they ask you to do. I want you to literally look them in the face and say, I don't know nothing about birthing no baby, and just walk off. Okay. So y'all ready? I don't know nothing about birthing no baby. End scene. Okay. And that's going to make them feel away, because if you look at somebody who's asking you how to do like the simplest thing that they can definitely do themselves, and you look at them and you say, I don't know nothing about birthing no baby, and you walk off, they're going to feel stupid. And we love that for them. Okay. So also, I bet you thought I wasn't going to ask you. I bet you thought, oh, she got through this whole episode, she didn't say nothing. Lies. Go see that lady, okay? Not the lady that you're using as a mammy, but the lady that gets paid to help you process. The therapist. Remember I asked you, nobody DM me and said that y'all had gone and seen the lady, or you had gotten a lady's phone number, or that you had an appointment. So I'm going to keep asking you, because it's that lady, the therapist's job, to help you clear up some of the trauma that these institutions bring you. So now remember, every step you take is a testament to your strength and grace. Keep striding forward, hold your head up high, and never forget you've got someone to hold your heels when it's needed. I hope you conquer your world today. Until next time, stay empowered, stay you, and slay in your own personal way.
Yeah, I'm gonna make you pay